Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to the Menhirs Fate stream. We have our wonderful directors here, not all of them, unfortunately, and we have some little pixelated ones down here that hopefully their quality will just go nice and up as we progress. They were perfectly fine just
really
before
was,
we went
yeah.
live.
It's up and down.
But yes, welcome. We're just here today to answer any burning questions you have about Menhirs Fate or LARP in general. That's totally fine. We're here to answer those questions. We also did send out an announcement earlier to our official Discord, which Alex has in front of him. We're going to go in terms of priority, so people that put the most stars on a question clearly are the ones that need to be answered first. But yeah, going in order, in case you don't know, we've got Alex in the top left. What is your director role, would you say? Bin guy?
Hello, I've taken a managing director role, so I also do bulks and bins on site, but in general, I'm also just managing the business end of things and helping the directors team achieve the things they're trying to achieve.
Great. And then Ross, bottom left.
Hello, I do media direction, if you will, and film everything I can and promote it.
End of the wonderful videos, photography, some of, not all, out there is Ross's bag.
Yeah.
I am... I don't know what I do. I do a bit of everything.
You're the IT wizard.
IT, website, customer service at your disposal, filling gaps like polyfiller. Johnny, what do you do? What the hell do you do?
I do all sorts, everything and anything. Mainly fight players, but also game directing, behind the scenes, wall making, things like this. So anything and everything that's needed.
And Kitty.
I'm the artistic director, so I do most of the design work for anything that's on the field, and manage a brilliant team of people who are volunteers, who pretty much anybody that you'll meet as a character on the field will come through Monster, which is the department that I run on the field.
And we highly recommend, if you haven't already, watching on the Hat Films channel. This is a plug, but it's a good one because it gives a good vibe as to how Menhirs Fate 1 went, and you get to see a lot more of the directors and the crew involved that aren't just us. We're not taking credit for all the work that goes on behind the scenes here. We're just the voice pieces for these wonderful people doing this work. So without further ado, do we have any good questions, Alex, or do we have really bad ones?
We've got loads of really great questions, Chris
Fantastic.
Trott. The first one's quite a self-congratulatory one, so let's get
Great.
this one out of the way, but it's very highly voted. What was the biggest positive takeaway from the first event?
Great.
I'll start with my response to each of these. For me, it worked. I think for me, seeing all the things that people had planned, all the systems people had created, see them all come together and work, and then the end result for players was really fun. For me, knowing that we were capable of doing that was the most positive thing.
That's great. Yeah, we'll go round. So, Ross, what was your takeaway from Menhirs Fate?
Well, that was the first LARP event I've ever been to. And it was just great. It was like everyone was positive. It was very good vibes all around. And yeah, it was a really good film as well. It was very cinematic, some very epic moments as well. So yeah, all positive really from me.
Cool. From my point of view, again, I kind of parroting Alex here a little bit. The fact that it all came together and everyone worked so hard to get it over the line, so to speak, and it worked as smoothly as it did as a result of that work. It all just kind of came together, and I'm still processing how well it went, frankly. From both a site perspective, the lighting was fantastic. I think we've got so many pluses with the way everything's laid out. And seeing it on paper was one thing, but hoping that it actually comes to fruition as a real thing was really something else, and was quite special. And I'm always going to remember MF1 as something that, oh my God, we did it. And at this scale on day one, which is awesome. So I'll pass it over to Johnny and Kitty now. Whoever wants to go first, you two.
Yeah, I think the scale is definitely something to talk about, because like we've been running LARP for nearly 8 years now, and but never more than 150 participants between players and crew. So it was really gratifying to see so many of the people that we've kind of put through the skirmish meat grinder at Eversley to being in positions of like responsibility and encouraging other new faces to kind of get to grips with it. It was really cool seeing so many dynamic things going on simultaneously and people working together that had sort of stepped up. That's mine anyway.
I think I'm just going to echo everybody else. Like just getting out there and having it run, doing the scale, just having the large battles, having the kind of role play aspect of that on the field was great in my eyes. So we did it. It went well. It can be better. It could have gone a lot worse. So really positive about it.
Yeah, it's a good sentiment to have. Of course, we're not resting on our laurels here. We had plenty of feedback, both from player perspective and crew perspective. We've done a bunch of announcements on that. We sent out surveys, and we very much valued everybody's feedback and collated it and kind of took the biggest pain points going forward. And I'm sure there's probably some questions in the Q&A based on what are you doing to address X, Y, and Z that happened at MF1 that we'd like to be better in MF2.
Well, that's funny you brought that up, Chris, because the second highest voted question is what are plans for mitigating the significantly long process of bank stuff at the beginning of an event? Now, Chris, you might be able to shine some light on this.
I'll shine a partial flashlight and you shine another light. How about that? And if anyone wants to shine more lights on it.
Yeah, we can light this thing up.
We can light this bad boy up. We're approaching this from a multi-pronged perspective. There are reasons why the queue was as big as it was. So for context, those that didn't go to Menhirs Fate 1, we have an in-character Bankers Guild, which I think is, and I think everybody agrees, once you're in there and taking part in it, it's phenomenal. What they've done in that, I want to do a specific shout out to the Bankers Guild crew. They're incredible, and I can't wait for you to meet them again or for the first time at Menhirs Fate 2. However, that's where you go to get your resources. So if you want to collect your coins or your essences, which is like distilled magic in a little physical representation, or Flicker, which is a card version of that, you have to go to the bank and withdraw it like you would at any bank. The issue we faced was, which we didn't realize at the time, because until you're on the field, we have to manage traffic. And a great influx of said traffic was managed by our bankers team at the early stages. So a huge portion of why there was a backlog of queue was because I corralled them away from the job that they were meant to be doing and managing the influx of traffic, which were blocking a whole village at one point. So there's that. The other things we're doing to mitigate it, from at least what I understand, is we're opening Thursday at specific hours. So that will be an option for those doing Thursday camping. It will be less of a queue there. We'll be opening up earlier than time in as well on the Friday. So there's even more options to do so. And it's going to be a more organized in terms of them having downtime as well. The bank is going to shut so that they can replenish, rebuild, and come back stronger and get through more queue. So that's the things that I'm aware of that we're doing to mitigate the queue. Any others?
Yeah, I mean, this particular situation happened just once, I think, on the Friday. The rest of the weekend, the flow was pretty acceptable. I think there was also a couple of issues with accounts initially that hadn't quite been registered properly or whatever, bringing up
Yes.
like null sums or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And that took a little time to work out what was going on. But yeah, generally, I think we're going to be okay this time. Remember, obviously it's exciting to get your stuff out of the bank. But yeah, try and do it at times where you don't think other people are necessarily going to do it. Like, it is part of the game. Like, a lot of us have just come back from Empire, which we love and was a big inspiration for trying to start this. And I know when I see a big queue outside God, I just come back later and I get my thing in 5 minutes of waiting when I come back later, and it really is as simple as that. So also, when you're in the queue, we're going to be throwing all sorts of stuff at you too.
Yes,
not physical objects, not always, but there'll be interactive stuff going on this event as well.
The queue itself will be slightly more exciting. We're not going to spoil anything there. bankers have got ideas. The other issue that compounded this problem was there was a sudden realization that there was an entry fee to the other guilds, and that means that those people needed money to join said guild,
Complicated things.
and therefore they all join the queue, because it's like, well, in order for me to start the game and do Adventures Guild or Treasure Guild or whatever, there's an entrance fee. So we're aware of that as well, and that is also being mitigated. I'm not going to say specifically what they're doing to do that, because I don't actually know, unless Kitty, Johnny have any light on that situation, but we are aware of that at the very least. So yes, we're aware of all the reasons why it was a big queue on Friday. However, like Alex says, it wasn't on Saturday and Sunday. It was just an influx to begin with, but we're doing lots of things to address that initial influx of excitement, getting your shiny coins and whatnot. So yeah, that answers the question. Is everyone happy with that?
Johnny, go.
Also, I think even though there was a queue, it was in character, and things were happening around that in character space as well. So if you are a bard and it does seem like a queue, it could be a good idea to go over there, play some songs, and earn some coin.
Captive audience.
Captive audience. They won't go anywhere.
Maybe if you've already got coin, you could pay to have someone else queue for you. You know, things like that. I'm sure people can go on others' behalf that aren't there, if you know the ID and their password. So there is a system in place at the Bankers Guild to stop fraud. So you literally go up and you either choose to do a signature to withdraw or choose a password. And so long as the person that is going up and you trust them, you can give them your player ID and or bank account ID is what we call it, IC, and your password/signature, and you can go into the account for them. But again, there's a reason to do group accounts. That's another thing that you can do at the Bankers Guild, like combine your money together. There's quite a few bank group joint accounts going on, which means only one of you has to go and get money out, and other things like that. So yeah, should we move on to the next question?
Yeah, okay. So we've got a question here, which is, are there any plans to flesh out the new player sessions for Event 2? As someone who didn't really understand the basics of combat, I'd love to have more practice on how to hit safely, etc. We are increasing numbers of sessions we're doing. I think, is there something, Johnny, have you got an answer for people that might want to understand the basics of combat?
So we did it last time. We're going to kind of hopefully the structure will come out a bit more better this time, where we will have 2 sessions where we'll go through how to hit safely, how the rules of the game, both vigor and magic focus, and then we're also after that doing new player combat briefs. But that isn't just for new players. Anybody can come to combat briefs, and then basically we will put you into certain scenarios and you'll basically learn how fighting works. We've also changed up how we're going to be doing weapon checking. It's now going to be a single location between the hours 2 and 5 on the Friday, so you can just head there and get your weapons checked, and then you can come join in for the skirmishes.
Yep, another piece of feedback there was weapons checking, so we are making it easier to get to, essentially. Right, and we'll do an announcement as to where that's going to be, and like you say, you've got the time slots already, so we'll repeat that in messaging going forward. Johnny's really good at teaching combat as well. We did a ref training day near the site, and I watched the footage of that because I had to go home, but I liked the way you talked about the size of weapons, and it was packets of crisps as the sentence that you speak in your head. Do you want to just talk about that real brief? Because I found it quite funny.
It's actually a holdover from Empire, because Empire have a 1-second hit rule like we do. And I did the new player weapon brief with Nick and a few of the other volunteers. And it is the Walker's system. So with a small weapon like a dagger, you're saying crisp between every blow. So crisp, crisp, crisp. For someone that is one-handed, it is Walker's crisps, Walker's crisps, Walker's crisps. And if it's a 2-handed thing, it's salt and vinegar crisps. Salt and vinegar crisps.
You'll get the full flavour in there as well.
So you get the full flavour in there. Just don't say it out loud, because you sound like a lunatic.
Crisps!
Unless it's the type of character you want to be, then
People think it's a new call.
yeah.
The name's Crisps.
Crisps.
The reason for that, obviously, is all the weapons are lighter than their actual counterparts, and to make it a bit less bullshitty, let's be honest, that you have a massive weapon and you are spamming hitting with it, it's better to lengthen the delay between swings to make it feel like it is a big, hefty weapon that you're having to swing. And it's a bit fairer for that reason. Cool.
We want you to role play,
Yeah.
like when you're fighting, as much as when you're just sitting down having a drink and a conversation, and it kind of puts that kind of vibe into your attacks.
Definitely. So yes, we are planning out our new player and other training courses for that day, and there will be an announcement coming soon about what times those things will be. So stay tuned for that. All right.
Okay, moving on. Are there any plans to update or change the faith mechanics after feedback from Event 1? And if so, what sort of things are being considered? Does anyone know about the faith stuff at the moment?
Ooh, annoyingly, Nick is probably the best person to speak to about this, and unfortunately he's not here today. Yes, we have got the feedback for faith. Obviously, between MF1 and MF2, very short window for us to do big overhauls of certain things. So MF2, as we understand it, is the faith system is happening in the same way. I believe we're managing faith tokens, like, for example, handing it in is going to be a little easier. But we have tools and ideas in mind to make faith, at least tracking-wise, a little easier for refs on the field and things like that. But I can't speak from experience or from a knowledge base because Nick is probably the best person to answer that question, is not here.
I do think you've hit it on the head more so, Chris. Definitely with our time constraint between MF1 and MF2. Between MF2 and MF3, we have quite a larger gap. And I think that is when we're going to focus a bit more heavily on rules and mechanic change as well. I know there's going to be a couple of small ones before this event, maybe. I will let you know what they will be. And then the larger stuff will most likely happen between MF2 and MF3. So we have got your feedback, and we're definitely looking into it to progress it better.
Yeah. For now, however, we also want to iterate that we're not going to do huge overhauls to really confuse you between events. We're also, because it's only be one event, we kind of need a bit more data to prove one way or another whether the mechanic is actually broken or it just needs a bit more onboarding and understanding to make work. And that kind of counts as a whole. Some things may seem like they're either confusing or don't work properly, but I think we need to give it at least 2 events, if not more, to see if it is actually the case. And if so, we'll adjust. And obviously, we're more than happy to listen to your feedback and make changes on that. Yeah.
Okay, next question is, it could be a fun one. I don't know if you want to reveal the baddie for E2 yet or not, but that one's basically
can.
What is the enemy faction for Event 2, MF2?
All right, so monster management down below me. You guys put the Fallen on the field. And do you want to talk about the Fallen first a little bit and what the reason we chose the Fallen to begin with?
So we chose the Fallen for its kind of need and want of what they don't have. So it was a good enemy to kind of push forward, to be like, we want this thing, you have it. It gave us the opportunity to have that kind of instant enemy that basically wants what you have. Also, it gave us a good kind of baseline of what is good to fight and how the rules work on what I like to say rock, paper, scissors system, to see what we require, what you have, etc. The Fallen are one of the 4. There is 3 more. What else there's there to say about the Fallen?
We thought they would be the simplest of the 4 to show at the first event, right?
Yeah.
The easiest to kit up for and the easiest to understand quickly.
Yeah, and portray on field.
Yeah. And from that point, we can get a bit more complex with the other corruption gods and the cults around them.
Yeah, because what we've shown you at MF1 is just the tip of what could be below the Fallen. what else is there to come. But our next one we're going to be focused on is the Void, which is going to be a different kettle of fish compared to the Fallen. For they are about want and destruction and the end of all things. They have much more of a faith aspect that the end is nigh, and that the only way that everything can stop is by ending, which is great.
Damn. Yeah, I've got the page up now, which is obviously going to be released ASAP for you all to read. But, this line kind of sums it up. No care is made for the future, only for the now. For what plans stand against oblivion.
It's really cool. And like Johnny was saying, it's kind of like a doomsayer priest kind of role play. There's a lot of like, this is the end, hopelessness. There's a lot to rally against and fight back against. And I think this is a really cool one.
It's So stepping up in terms of personality, I'd say. The Fallen had quite a singular motive. And not to say that it isn't Babby's first baddie, but we kind of made it a little simpler. And the Void, they could have got a nice purple aesthetic to it versus the light blue that we had, the icy blue that we had for the Fallen. It's going to be quite obvious if you're coming up against the Void. They'll be adorned in purple. Do you want to talk about the look and feel a little bit, Kitty? Inspirations?
So the main sort of inspiration is it's quite medieval in flavour. I think there's going to be a little bit of crossover with the Valdraith look and feel, especially with the kind of the hoods all across the Crownlands. Hoods are worn, and the kind of iconic bit of kit that a lot of the crew are making is like a scarf hood, which is a slightly different style of hood because you can wear it in different ways, including sort of down in a more ecclesiastical way, like belted or wrapped up and sort of covering your face. There's sort of Hussite peasant revolt kind of inspiration there that some of our skirmish captains have been really enthusiastic to sort of put together for it. Can you put the other tab on?
I can put the other tab.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Sure.
The
color scheme, purple and black and whites as well, more like creamy whites.
The idea with pretty much all of the corruption monster kit is that it can be layered over standard kit as much as possible, to make it as easy as possible, because they are drawing from the people of Elandria for their ranks. So if you've got Avaro or Valdraith kit or Wonder kit, there's other nations as well, like Urdravan as well. It can be really easy to put together a look that kind of incorporates some of that stuff. There's sort of some of the heavier hitting baddies that the crew have been putting together are particularly spicy. I don't know how much of them are on the website, look and feel yet.
We got the Convert, the Pilgrim, and the Flagellant is what we have so far.
Okay, cool.
We're going to see a lot of flails. We're going to see a lot of those pole flails, by any chance.
We will have some pole flails. There will be pole flails.
This has been what Johnny's wanted to do for years, and you've just enabled him to finally get flails.
Get flailed.
Nice.
So that's a very good point that Kitty raised. The whole reason we went with a corrupted element as our baddie is it's easier for you to monster. You can corrupt yourself, your outfit, by accessorizing, and it's quite easy to accessorize with the key color, like the snood, for example, essentially for the Void, or adding other purpley bits and corrupting yourself in some way visually, maybe with some makeup, that sort of thing. There's lots of pointers on the website, and just talk to other people in Discord as well for suggestions. But you can essentially use your same kit and corrupt it up for the monstering, which is cool.
Yeah,
makes it a bit more approachable and accessible for people.
So I'm going to move on to another question here that I can answer quite quickly. Are there any plans for nation-specific communal seating areas when camping OC? It's hard to find a place to sit down if you're not part of a group. Great point. This is something we will try and do this event. I will find some benches. I will cover them in appropriate material and try and put some out because, yeah, great point. Our bar should have more seating this time as well. So please,
the bar's getting an upgrade.
Yeah, the bar's getting a pub. It's going to be called the Stumble Inn this time. We're going to do a lot of things. So please go check out the pub. We've got some great local ales and ciders and things like that in there. But yeah, sit down around there. We hear you, and we will try and create some more areas for people to sit. That is also, in character pubs and places like that around that are more than happy to lend you a seat for a few sagas, I'm sure. So another question here would be, will there be more specific support for mages going forward? Maybe a small talk alongside during the combat brief showing how to cast spells, regain focus, and a way to meet other mages. I think this is a great idea. I imagine you could do that alongside if you came to the same things Johnny was talking about earlier. You could also tell them about how mage calls work, right?
Yeah, so that's the plan. It's going to be a bit longer than normal because I do want to get all the mage stuff involved as well as the vigor stuff. Our game has a lot of calls in it. And there's a lot of different powers that get used, including the difference between rites and weavings and cantrip casting, things like this. So it's something that we are already getting down, ready for our new combat brief, basically.
Okay, awesome.
Lovely.
Will there be any plans for videos of the factions? Trying to read everything on the wiki is giving me GCSE textbook flashbacks.
That's a great idea. We haven't obviously filmed them yet. We've done look and feels and photos from our time at the ref training day that we did. That is something we could definitely take on board for future events.
Yeah, we'll have a look at that.
It'd be pretty cool to introduce them with like a little trailers, like the void is coming.
Yes, that'd be
coming
awesome.
out the smoke. Something to think about. Be good, but we'd obviously have to get the next ones ready in secret and film them. So that's other things to bear in mind. But very cool idea. I'd like to do things like that. We're very media pro, and we like doing and releasing videos with it quite clearly. So
this one, it says, it's a little embarrassing to say, but I found it hard to get engaged and find things to do non-com. It was also hard to find and identify nation support. Any tips on how to get more stuck in for people that might be intimidated? Obviously, speaking to your nation support is a great way to go. We will try and make them more identifiable. It's a good point. I think that if you ask other people around you who is our nation support, eventually you will find someone who will point in the right direction. That is a lot of LARPing, asking people things and then them telling you to go somewhere, and then you ask the next person, and eventually you find the thing you're looking for. I will say
101, isn't it?
Yeah, that is essentially like how you find things in this game. You do chat and that kind of thing. So yeah, talk to people. People are so keen to share game with you at these things. Please don't be intimidated. That as soon as you tell somebody that you don't know how something works, you're going to make their day because they're going to get to tell you how it
that
works.
Is game for a lot of people. Is being given a question that they can answer. It's very gratifying, and it gives them something to do as well. So don't ever feel like you're burdening anyone with questions, even if they're super simple. Sometimes the simpler the better, because it's like, I can actually help with that. I'm also a new player, but I do know the answer to that question. And also you can talk about nation support IC, because you can ask for the threads. The people that have the threads is the key word to use for Kairos, for example. I need to look for the person that has the thread to Kairos.
Johnny and Kitty, any thoughts?
Any thoughts?
I think you've said it very well there, Alex. Like, yeah, it's LARPing is a very collaborative hobby, and as soon as there's going to be so many people who want to help as soon as they know that there is something they can help with. And the threads are there specifically to help as much as possibly. And a lot of them are also non-com. So there's quite a lot of the plot that we've been reviewing in the last couple of weeks has been non-com related, and we've got like a traffic light system back of house to sort of say what plot is intended to be low com or combat possible, but has solutions that are without using fighting. And we are kind of trying to incorporate that into the game as much as possible. But it's sort of a case of letting people know your name and your face and being able to direct the things that you're interested in to you. But it's kind of it's a collaborative thing in order to get that off the ground. It can be really scary, especially if you're super new to the hobby. But genuinely, everybody around you is also in the same boat or have been in the same boat in the past and really want to help.
That was a key point, I think, is everyone is sharing in the same anxieties and worries. So you are very much not alone in the how do I even act at LARP. You don't have to act, for one. You don't have to adorn a persona unless it helps you with your anxiety to kind of be someone else when approaching someone. Act as if you're more confident. That sometimes helps me, for example, to be like, I'm going to be this person. Instead of being socially anxious me, I'm going to be a bit more bold, more Varlis person that's going to ask questions and get answers. So that's a good way of training your mind and putting the anxiety to one side. But don't worry, everyone is thinking that. Even if they got a stone face, I guarantee you they're all a little bit nervous inside, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's a thing that we say a lot. When people come to our woodland to play games, we're all there to play Let's Pretend and have fun. So just try and get out there, talk to everyone and anyone, and say yes instead of no, and see where it leads you.
Yeah,
get amongst it.
Get amongst it.
Get stuck in. Oh, and the closer you are to the middle tents, the closer you are to the guilds, the more likely you're going to be able to approach someone that has game for you. So get stuck into one of those big tents, like the Adventurers Guild, Treasure Guild. That's like the hub of activity of NPCs that will help you get something to do.
Okay, so are there any plans to make it easier to spectate the Menhirs tent? We'd love to. There's no plans immediately right now. There's some limitations, obviously, to having a projector system on in the middle of the day. We need to keep it kind of in a tent that at least gives it some chance to outcompete the sun. In the future, absolutely, we'd like to make it bigger. Right now, there's no specific plans. It's for the weavers. It's for the people doing the rites. Of course, it looks cool for other people to spectate. We'd love to have that. It's something for the future. So no clear plans.
The
right
way
now.
I see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Menhir is a manifestation on the success of the festival. So the more grand and epic the Menhir is because Menhirs Fate as a festival is successful enough that we can make the Menhir bigger and more spectacular and have it outdoors, things like that. Mm-hmm. So obviously we're going to pour our love and support and budget into making the game better and better, and that comes with a bigger player base ultimately. Yep,
sounds like it's a good point. I like this idea as well, and this probably fits in the same category. If building projects are financed at the bank, out of character, is there a possibility that MF would put up a tent to represent the building in one of the nations on the field? We had about 28 builds financed last event.
And that's just the fully funded ones, not the ones that are in progress as well.
Obviously, not all of those would need a building to represent them, but I possibly, if there's certain things in the future that everyone's like, yeah, we're going to do this thing, like maybe, I don't want to say no. I know Johnny and Kitty have done stuff like that for their games where they've built whole buildings as a response to crowd demand.
The current situation
what's Johnny going to say?
To be fair, I did blow up a pub, so I had to remake it.
You blew the door off, yeah.
There are plans to do cool things like that, but at the moment, I think our ruling is we do not have buildings in Haven itself right now. It's for the areas outside of Haven that you're getting commissioned and done. Not to say that won't happen in the future, but as of right now, all the fully funded ones are areas in Alandra, not where Haven is, because Haven's not always in the same place. This
isn't a question that I can answer. Maybe Johnny and Kitty can. within the scope of the larger weavings to discover new rights for each sphere?
I honestly don't know. It could be cool though.
It's certainly a way we could add them, definitely.
It's certainly a way we can add them,
yeah.
for sure. It all depends on what the right is. If it's like I get to cast 17 obliterates a day, then that'd be a no. But we're there's something that we could definitely think about and go for. But at current, we haven't got a plan to increase any more rights currently.
Great. Okay. I've a couple of the other really big ones here. There was a few instances of miscommunication at E1 where players were not told about events or goals, such as the last battle where not everyone got briefed on the objectives. Is there any new systems in place to counter that, and are there any plans on ways to help keep everyone in the loop? That was very much a first. I mean, I'll explain from my end. That was very much a first event thing where we wanted to do it. Some stuff had happened on the field where we wanted to give a lot of people a satisfying end to it. And yeah, I think some people did fall through the cracks, but ultimately it's more of a communication thing, more of getting information going out through the existing channels that we have as quickly and effectively as possible, I think. But again, Johnny Kitty, I don't know if you have any game insight as to why that might have happened. Do you think why some people didn't know what the objectives were for the last battle?
I think it was largely because the writing teams had been quite separate coming up to the event, because obviously it was the first one and we'd had a lot of new plot writers, and we didn't realize how much they weren't able to speak. And so a lot of the world plot didn't really get filtered down to the nation writers. And so they weren't aware in advance of anything more than a real broad stroke of what was going on. Since then, we have completely changed the way that the plot writers can all talk to each other and share information and share ideas for their plots to span, say, a nation and a guild kind of working together, or a national thing that works on the whole world plot basis. I think we've kind of de-siloed our writers, because that was a big bit of feedback that we had on the crew side, and we'll hopefully fix that problem going forward, because they'll just all be a bit more clued into what's going on.
Can I jump in with a question that we've had in our chat?
Yep.
Because I know we can answer this one. It's an accessibility question. Mm-hmm. Can you get some kind of transport assistance for accessibility issues, getting to low-com, no-com encounters, dungeon crawls, such as the shrine we did up in the woods?
Yeah, so we do have a vehicle for this event that is, like a bit golf carty. And if people do have accessibility issues that are preventing them from being able to get to the top up near the dungeon, then of course, we can help those people out with that vehicle.
Just gonna be on a case by case basis.
Yeah. That's the thing. We'll do our best to help people, and obviously we can't promise a up the hill shuttle service for everybody.
not with a single one, no.
But of course, we want to try and make everything as accessible as we can for everybody. And that hill, I mean, we're certainly going to be giving some of our crew help up that hill for sure, because they have to do it multiple times a day, often carrying things. So we are absolutely trying to improve the logistical challenges for everybody. Happy to say.
Who's in charge of that? Someone's asked here. So, who would you go to?
Who's in charge of?
Is there a master of the wagon?
It's a good question. I think. Well, who is it that usually takes Johnny and Kitty? Who is it that usually takes people up the hill if they're going to go up the hill? Like when it comes to players, is it you guys?
One of us, or a ref.
Yeah, and they're going to be mustering in and around Monster, right?
Yeah, they're going to be mustering at the smaller menhir down at the bottom near the road, like we did last time. I think is the best bet.
Well, if you can ask one of the senior team around you at the time, that might be Johnny or Kitty, that might be one of our skirmish leads, captains or whatever, and try and get that passed up, then we'll get a radio through and we can see if the vehicle can help, basically.
There'll be some way if you see
someone. Nation support would help as well.
Yeah, nation support will help. I mean, we're all on radio comms and we have lots of different channels, so there'll be a way for a person with a radio to get to the correct person relatively quickly for you. So look for people like that. They'll have something in their ear. That'll be quite clear.
Yeah.
they have a radio.
Okay, I'm going to try and rattle through a few more of these because I want to get a few done. So
Quick fire round.
Yeah, I'm trying to tag off the ones I've done. Will there be a more dedicated channel to talk about Faith with the game team? Yes, probably. We appreciate that there's lots and lots of things to do with Faith, and we are working as hard as we can to create systems and spaces to expand on that, examine the ideas people have, which are going to be amazing. I mean, we're talking about gods and things like that. So yeah, we appreciate, we want to spread that out a bit. Faith is going to be something that, as has been mentioned, we'll be focusing down on the downtime. If anyone wants to say anything else about any of these things, put your hand up, give a shout. Otherwise, I'll just go on to the next thing. Right, okay, cool. Next one. Will there be any way to formally recognize player groups in the system so we can have boons or weavings that affect a specific player group that might not be in the same nation, but, for example, are a cartel of traders?
Very cool idea.
We might. I would say that something we don't want to do is create limitations where they aren't necessary. But when it comes to defining things and making fun things and fun identical groups, then of course we can create things that can be tailored to that. But I think standardizing a system that formally recognizes groups, in my experience in other systems, it kind of just becomes a pain in the ass because you're like, oh, let's do this thing with this other people. Oh, they're not part of our group, and oh, it doesn't have this thing applied to us. I see Johnny nodding, and I feel like, just a nod, just an agreement there.
Yeah, so the way I see it is, it's better not to have those groups. If you do want something like that done, it's easier just to already get the players' names and just be like, I want to cast it on these people, because you know their names, you should know that, you should be able to get their PID, and then you don't have to worry about, oh, hang on a minute, you're still connected to this banner, you need to move over to this banner, you need to go to the god desk to then change that over, when you can literally just be like, I know their name, I know their PID, I want to cast it on them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you can all say you've got it on you because you are all part of the Cheesemakers Guild, or whatever. I think it's the best way to do it rather than having the limitations in the back end. Next, how long do items made through weavings last if they don't have a duration on them? My initial answer would be everything should just last a year. But maybe there are Hansels, or maybe there are reagents or something that's been generated through a weaving that might not have an expiry. Any thoughts?
I believe most things have an expiry, if not all things have an expiry, and usually it's a year. That's as much as I know.
I think some relics don't have expiries. The best bet is to take that item that you have to the weaving team or to a ref, maybe even wherever you got it made, and just be like, is this unlimited, is this one use, or is this going to run out in a year, and then go from there. Because I think like Flicker and Essence never runs out. I know Hansels can be around forever, but certain things will end within a year. So take it to wherever you made it and get it sorted.
Cool. Okay. Is there any plans to expand the consumable system so new calls or skills are exclusive to consumables, or having a guild organization related to creating consumables? So we have the Apothecary and Enchanting Guild. It doesn't have a giant TP tent, but it's set up near the Forge was last time, and they're actually going to have another tent, an extra tent this event. But they are the people to help you organize creating consumables and things like that. And also, I imagine we could create consumables in the future that may give you one new skills or whatever, right?
Yeah, I think currently it's complicated enough, and people are still trying to get on board with the idea of Apothecary and Enchanting. So we're going to probably feel out what we have right now. However, there is some gaping holes in. It'd be really cool to have this ability or consumable skill. Not to say that we won't introduce it, but right now there are no current plans, at least at MF2, which is next week.
And at present, this is an additional question about Apothecary and Enchanting. At present, there appears to be no mechanical benefit to brewing multiple doses of consumable potions versus brewing multiple potions. And at the moment, there appears to be no reason to do dose brewing. Will there be a change to the system that gives dose brewing a fun reason for using this mechanic? I don't know the answer to this, but reading your question, the benefit of brewing multiple doses of a consumable potion versus brewing multiple potions, in my mind, would be you only need one fizz rep for something that has multiple doses, whilst multiple potions, you'd need multiple fizz reps for it. So instead, you could make a flask of 5 heals that has multiple doses, for example, and then just sell the player that with that fizz rep, is in my mind. Thoughts from anybody else?
I think you hit the nail on the head there. I'll take that question and have a look on the actual crafting of consumables and see where that falls down. If you could send whoever has sent that message, if we can get them to send it into feedback as well, because that'd be a good one to keep an eye on.
Yep.
In the future, for sure.
And that's a general call to anybody that has feedback or suggestions. There is an email that we do have called feedback@menhirsfate.com. We actually have a bunch of emails, but the easiest way to do it is to go on our website and look for our contact form, and then there's a drop down for like your specific question. One of them is feedback, or general inquiries or account problems. Just pointing that out.
Okay, so another one. Do you have any systems in place to manage the economy of the game to keep it accessible for all long term when it comes to I don't know what the end of that sentence is, but basically I understand what they're asking. Often economies are complicated things, and within LARPs especially, they can get all sorts of crazy. Part of that is fun, part of that's interesting, we want to see that. But however, we do have a banking guild, and they're all very interested in LARPing economies, and we've given them sort of, our nod to say that they can do fun economic things and interventions if they wish, so being interventionists in an economy is usually a kind of crazy thing, and they're going to do that. So yeah, I think we definitely don't want to close access to our game as the economy grows, because that kind of can happen. So yeah, we are very much thinking of that, and we have lots of people thinking about that.
I think this coincides with a question that we've been asked on here about, are we going to put out a guide price for Essence and Flicker to the guys, to the people that are playing our game? I don't think we are, mainly because unless the bank have an idea, because we want it to be organic and people need to work out the value of what is what and then go from there. But if it does seem like it's getting ridiculously high, the bank will then come in and kind of sort that out, I believe.
As long as it isn't on purpose. So it's awesome. One of the reasons I wanted to start this like a massive LARP, because it's fascinating. The sociological and economical like little microcosm you create out of a LARP is amazing. But how I would do it, and I like to trade in games, how I would work out the individual price of Flicker, I would look at the two options you have as a personal resource. You can either choose to make money and get 5 silver sagas, or you can choose an elemental resource and get 2 silver sagas plus 7 Flicker of a certain kind and some essence. So, there's a 3 silver difference there between those two choices. So as a very baseline, I say you could reasonably presume that you could at least ask the difference per Flicker, when so you got that 3 silver sagas, so divide the 7 Flicker, and work out a price like that. The essence are obviously worth more as well, so you've got to sort of work these things out. That's where I'd start. However, it's a living, breathing world, and you have various economic conditions, different factors, different items being made, different ideas people come up with, and that's where demand may surge. So yeah, if and we will, and we may, and our banking guild may create conditions that do call for demand in certain things, or whatever. That's
the world
kind of
might react in certain ways.
Exactly. So yeah, that's what I would say.
But we want to be reactionary, right? We want it to be player-led, player agency, and that's the whole mantra of this entire LARP, is we're trying to accommodate your game rather than pigeonholing you and grouping you off and telling you what's right and what's wrong. Just setting some ground rules and some foundation that you can have fun with.
Absolutely. Question about scaling. For various guild missions content, what extra resources do you have planned for them to manage the increasing number of players attending MF as time goes on? First and foremost, learning and creating efficiencies. As we go on, we are going to learn how to better do everything, and we can do it right now. And as we grow, we will get better at using less resources to do the same thing. However, we also have to recruit like crazy, and we have been trying to do so. All of the teams that we see increasing need for, all of the teams that are already very worked very hard, that we're trying to create better systems to take the pressure off them and find more people to help and join those teams and collaborate. Yes, at the moment we are scaling what we have that works.
And there's an organic process to it as well. As people play LARP, they might realize that they enjoy certain aspects or observe things or be near other crew members where they're like, that looks really interesting, I'd like to learn more. And so you'd kind of migrate away from being a player and consider taking the other side of it, or like becoming part of the monstering team, or I'd really love to try nation support at some time, you know, that sort of stuff, just by experiencing it on the field. So that's another way of doing it as well, and shaping and scaling. As more players means more potential for them to convert to crew in the future if they like that sort of thing.
Okay. Everyone okay with that?
Yeah,
Yep.
that's spot on.
So this one's, have on-site security chilled out a bit more? I'm coming up Thursday and unsure if I will arrive before 8 p.m. So, apologies if you had any issues with our security. As far as I'm aware, they were pretty good. I didn't have any personal issues with them. Neither did many people I spoke to. There was an issue around 3 p.m. where people were turning up at 3 p.m. and they still weren't able to access the site. That was, you know, collectively our fault for not quite having the traffic management system in place at 3 p.m. ready to go. We don't think that will be the case anymore. Coming up Thursday and unsure if you'll arrive before 8 p.m. That is okay. I think we are trying to finish cutoffs around 10 p.m. If people cannot make it on time before those sort of ideal cutoffs, you can get in touch with us and we will tell our security teams that you're coming. We use volunteers alongside our security team to manage people coming in, particularly for things like ticket checking or for crew. When they are coming in, we have to check everyone in so we know you're on the site. Really, when it comes to arriving later in the evening, what it means is it's just we don't want to ask as many of our volunteers to stay up late next to gates or in dark car parks or anything like that for longer than we have to. So we tend to take them off, and then it becomes purely a security thing. And we have limited budget, so we are asking our site partners to keep security to a minimum while still maintaining a safe event. So really, it's about, if you can arrive earlier before those deadlines, it just means that you're helping everybody out. Ultimately, we don't have to keep volunteers on as late. We can afford to run the event for longer, but we appreciate people come from a long way. We appreciate that trains are late. They break down way too frequently. So we can always make exceptions, but just try not to be the exception too often is what I would ask.
Yep, and alongside that, there's a lot of praise for us having security in the first place. I think that's one of the big benefits of Menhirs Fate, is the safety element of it. And there was also a learning curve for the security team understanding what LARP even was. And I think they got on board very, very quickly. And I think some of the teething issues that they experienced and were used to music festival level of security, and that kind of changed and adapted, and they very much accommodated it. By the end of the weekend, they fully understood the people that are arriving are very lovely and very different to an influx of music festival people. So they've learned a lot as well, and I think that is going to be quite evident in MF2.
Cool. Yeah, good point. Do people need to print their passport for event 2, Chris? Would that help, or are we just printing them all at events now?
So we print all of them. So there's two things that have happened with the technology that we have. Before, we were asking everybody to pick their character and activate it. This is now an automatic thing. So after a certain period of time, you're going to be associating a character with a ticket. If you've already been to an event, that character is going to be automatically activated, which means the passport will be printed for you. However, doesn't mean you can't customize your passport and make cool versions of your passport if you want to make your own. There's just a copy available to you at the bank if you want it. Because some people did it in wood, and that was really cool. So I want to promote that.
Awesome. Okay, right. We are probably approaching a point where we're going to have to finish fairly soon. I'm just seeing if there's any propagating safety announcements on the field. There was an awful lot of players and NPCs running around, charging and retreating, and they were pretty close to some guidelines at times. For sure, we are learning and doing our best to manage the camp incursions. We have more refs, more people being vigilant, and making sure there's enough space and lighting is always important.
Yep.
We let me see. How does food work at LARP? Should you bring your own, or can you buy food while you're there? Both is fine. We have some great food on site. We have really great pizzas. We have like the best vegan place I've tried recently. We have Cantina, which does like a custom Menhirs Fate menu. It's like chicken and Mexican stuff as well. So there's lots of things, but you can also bring your own. Cook your own is also really fun to do. Is there any intention of having storage at site helpful for set dressing? There are storage companies nearby, very nearby, not on site right now, but could be something for the future. But there are some places really close if you're looking.
Corner, right? Yes.
There was one other couple things. Any names running for the golf cart? Where it's called a mule, and I think the mule is really quite good anyway. But yeah.
We could really rub it in and call it the horse.
The horse. There's no horses here. And yeah, I mean, there's a few more questions here, but I think we've covered a lot of the really important ones.
Yes, and the site layout is changing, by the way. We're probably going to release close to the time when it's fully locked in. Of course, we've taken on your feedback of it being a very big place that requires a lot of walking. There are other aspects to it. In terms of like electricity access for specific areas and things where we can't do radical shifts, at least between MF1 and MF2. The festoon lighting has been hammered in and took a long time to do so, and that's staying put. So we're kind of working around some limitations on that angle, but there will be an updated map at some point.
Yep.
I think that's fair to say, right?
Yeah, for sure. We're always working to improve the layout to give people the best experience. We've taken the wall down, so the traders now have a nice view. You'll be able to see the traders. We've brought stuff slightly closer together. We've added toilets.
We've added more water.
We've added taps
in the middle. Yes.
So that there's now drinking water accessible right in the middle of the map.
Yeah.
We're adding more signage so you know where things are. We're moving monster around so you don't have to walk right to the top of the sort of field if you don't need to. There's a lot of fun things. Come and see it. We have until Sunday. That's our late ticket booking deadline. You can still buy tickets after that, but if you want to get your tickets at the best price, buy them before this Sunday. We'd really appreciate it if you bought them any earlier. If you're planning to, please go ahead because that helps us with budgets immensely. Yeah, we have an event next weekend. The weather's going to be great. It's a bank holiday.
Really good again.
It's from 9th to the 11th.
Next weekend?
I believe so, isn't it? Or is it this weekend?
Bank holiday this weekend.
Oh, well, it's a bank holiday this weekend, so you're going to be so well rested. Come and run around and expend all of that energy at Menhirs Fate Event 2. It's going to be even better than the first one, legitimately. For all the people that came to the first one and enjoyed it, and you come to the second one, lucky you. We hope you have a great time.
Plus improvements.
Yeah.
And a more well-oiled machine in the back end.
Yes.
Getting it going.
So people have more questions. The Discord is the best place for
yes.
it.
Yeah. So we have an official Discord. I do hope someone in chat could link. If not, I will do so. In fact, I will do so. But thank you very much to everybody that goes to the Discord and helps other people as well. That's very much appreciated. Also, yeah, just want to say a heartfelt thanks to everyone that took a plunge and tried out MF1 for the first time ever. You made this happen for us, and we are forever grateful for you coming along for the ride with us, and we really hope that as a result we prove to you that this is extremely cool. I think what we've made here is something quite special, and we really want it to continue. Like, we're very eager to, and the only way it can continue is if you guys come. So and the earlier we know that you're coming, the better as well, so that we can pay for things like the security and the site itself. So yeah, that's very much appreciated. So thank you to everyone that's got a ticket already or is planning to before the cutoff for the late fee on Sunday. And yeah, I'll put the link in for the Discord right now. And with that, is there anything else? Any final words from everybody?
You know anything to say?
I've never got anything to say.
Speechless.
Speechless.
Just
Absolutely speechless.
Amazing.
Sat here just drumming away on the plot. Let's see how it is.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
I'd love to speak to you all now, but we've literally probably got to go back now and do more to get Menhirs Fate working. So thank you so much for taking your time. Share this Q&A around if you know there's been some questions answered that have been asked here today. That would be very much appreciated. And until then, we'll see you at the festival.
Yeah, see you then.
Yeah.
See you at MF2.
See you there.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.